Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of this interview. Unfortunately, we've had to record this a second time. So thank you to Nnamdi for making time for this interview. So Nnamdi, how would you introduce yourself?
Okay, like you already said, my name is Nnamdi Ajah. I will introduce myself as an IoT developer, somebody who likes to connect things and connect things with the aim of driving value. Yeah, that's how I would introduce myself.
Okay, and how long would you say that you've been an embedded developer?
I would say since 2014, so that's 7 years.
Okay. And what schools did you attend?
Okay, so my first degree was University of Nigeria. My first degree, mechanical engineering, obtained from University of Nigeria. My second degree from Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna.
Okay,
Both of
so
them
both institutions in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you get into embedded development?
I got into embedded development by chance, I would say. It started with a proposal to the Federal Ministry of Agric for a logistic solution. And then after the proposal it got modified like 2, 3 times, and the end result of the modification was a proposal for a precision agriculture solution where we had to create a smart irrigation system. So that involved me having to learn about embedded engineering, having to learn about microcontrollers, having to learn about how to connect uh, agricultural elements to the internet for control and monitoring.
Okay, and prior to that time, were you writing any code?
Prior to that time, was I writing any code? No.
Okay, so you learned all these things because of the proposal.
Yes, I learned all of this because of the proposal.
And how long would you say it took you to learn?
About I can't remember now, but I know that there was like a whole week of not sleeping, and if I won't put that to 1 week, so I'll put that to maybe like a month.
Okay. And what boards did you start out with for that precision agriculture?
I said that with Arduinos, I can't remember the name of the particular Arduino, but the very basic type of Arduino. So started with that type, and then moved on with the ESP32 board, and then moved on to the Raspberry Pis, and now I use the Jetson Nano.
Okay, nice. And as you moved from one board to the next, do you feel that the knowledge that you got from working on one board was useful in going to the next board, or did you have to start learning afresh?
Yeah, I felt at each stage the knowledge from the board I started from, or the previous board, was really very useful. So, like with the first board, I first of all learned about input output, general input output, digital controls. I learned about analog controls. With the second board, that was with the moving on to the ESP, I learned more about analog circuitry and how to play around with it and convert analog circuitry uh, uh, digital signals, convert analog signals to digital signals. Yeah, I learned that a lot. And then moving to the Raspberry Pi, from there, I learned more about what it takes to have a microcontroller embedded with other system on modules to create what we have like a system on chip. So having the microcontroller interact with like an SD card, with like a Wi-Fi module, with like other things as one chip. Yeah, and learned about having to learn more about the Linux kernel OS. So it was really very useful moving from one board to the other. like I would say my knowledge about digital circuitry would kind of ish would have been limited if I had gone straight to a Raspberry Pi, for instance, because with the Arduino types, I really had to first learn to collect analog data, had to learn to control them, stop them, convert them to digital signals, and all of that.
Okay, so what company do you work with currently?
Currently, I work with an elevator management company, Simplifa.
Okay, and what country is that in?
In Germany.
And how long have you worked at your current position?
I've worked at my current position for 14 months now. And that's 1 year and roughly about 2 months.
Okay. So I know before we got on the call, you had mentioned that your current employer is not open to you talking about the boards that you use at work. So we'll talk about what you do outside of work. So outside of work, what boards do you currently work with?
Outside of work, the boards I currently work with, that is the Raspberry Pi and the Jet Nano.
Okay. And so what sort of experiments do you carry out on those boards?
What sort of experiments I carry out on those boards? I like to always compile the Linux, so custom compile the embedded Linux OS. I like to always build the drivers to interact with the OS and with the device hardware. I like to always build my own custom device trees. So like you have a device, and when the device boots up, it says, "Oh, do I have a Wi-Fi module, or do I have a screen, or do I have this kind of radio?" So it looks at the trees and says, "Oh, okay, what hardware is connected to this pin," and all of that. So yeah, I always have to experiment with that, and I also have to build interrupts. For instance, you would I like the instance where you don't always have to where you don't always have to send a signal to the hardware to ask, "Oh, what's the current status of this registry?" But that when the registry of the hardware changes, it instead sends a signal from the kernel space to the application space and says, "Oh, okay, I just had a signal change and this is the new value." So I always experiment with that kind of things. I experiment those kind of things now.
Okay, that's lovely. Um, for for anyone interested, who's thinking, okay, fine, now I know that there's a job in embedded system space, and they're thinking of getting a job in Germany, possibly a company like yours. What's the entry level salary for an embedded systems engineer?
Uh, in the current market now, I would say the entry level salary for an embedded engineer in Germany is around about 45,000 euros gross.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, what advice would you give to aspiring embedded systems engineers?
Uh, well, the advice I would give is what has helped me so far is to always try out new things, always invest in education, and always take a break, as in always rest.
Okay. Thank you. So, we've come to the end, actually. The first interview was much longer. There was a whole lot more context in that one. Right?